Welcome, everybody. This is Dickie Smith with Celebrating the Gospel with Grace with Dickie Smith. And today I've got a special guest that I've been working with for a while now, and he's a mentor and a great friend. And he's kind of a crazy old man, and he just, he keeps me wound up pretty tight. And I've noticed my wife and I, Brenda, both noticed that he is pretty wound tight too. But anyway, I met him back after I met Don Keithley and everybody, and went through the Global Grace Seminary where I ended up getting a bachelor's in theology, I think is what it was. I'm not real sure. But anyway, I got involved with Doc because he had to read all my long lectures and everything. I used to pester him a lot, and he'd tell me how he was too busy to talk right now. Too many other people to work with. Then down the road, I seen a post on Facebook where he said he needed some help to work on this website. And I'm kind of a semi-retired guy, or retarded. I'm not sure which, but anyway. So I volunteered because I felt I was supposed to, and it's led me down this new path, and it's been quite interesting at times, and at other times frustrating. And it's one of those things. But anyway, this is Doc Cecil. Many of you may know him, many of you may not. But today we're going to ask him a few questions and find out a little bit more about this man. Okay, Doc, what is your educational background?
Well, I'm glad you asked that up front because most people want to know about that. In fact, my kids even want to know about that because even my grandkids are asking me, are you ever going to be out of school? Because that's all I've been doing for many, many years. When my kids were growing up, I was in college, and then my grandkids were growing up. I've been in seminary and seminary training. So let me give you just a little background. Can't give you everything because probably be boring, basically. But I spent 10 years from the 90s to 2000 in a college where I developed 3 counseling courses in higher education. And that allowed me to learn about higher education and what is expected for people who are involved on both ends of higher education. And most importantly, in those years, I was able to develop those courses. And from that, I was able to receive my first doctorate degree because I developed that coursework for the school. And then in the turn of the century at 2000, I wanted to take that training I had learned those 10 years to the local church.
Right.
I felt like it was very important to take counseling training to the local church. So I did an experiment, and it's very, very successful. But I tell you what, it's much like traditional uh, religious training. Traditional educational training is much like it because the old folks who developed those schools still want the schools to function the same way they did 10, 20, 30, 40, even 50 years ago.
Right.
If you want an education, you go to school.
But we're learning nowadays that that's changing quite a bit. And we're also learning there's been a lot of things in the Hindu medicine and everything else that's been, shall we say, hidden from the public.
Yes.
Natural healing, energy healing.
Yes.
I've seen that some of your stuff that involves this so-called energy healing. You want to?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because in 2005, I became kind of wanting to get something other than what I had been traditionally trained. So I ventured into energy medicine, energy psychology.
What did you research for that?
I did some research for that, and then I found out where I could get training. And in 2000, in 1996, I became an EFT practitioner.
What is that?
Trained. EFT is emotional freedom technique. That was developed by Dr. Gary Craig out of California. In fact, today, if anybody's listening to me here, they can go to EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, put that in a Google search, and there's literally thousands of practitioners around the world in all the languages of the world who are doing that work. It's very effective. However, I took it and was teaching it in 96, but I converted it in 97 to my own personal work called EFTC. Now, what I did, I took emotional freedom through Christ. I added the Christocentric paradigm to it, and it came much more effective when I did that with my clients, because I was teaching in higher education, and I was also had a private practice in counseling and coaching and mentoring. I was doing it that time as well.
Were you doing this? I'm not trying to interrupt you, Doc, but we're trying to keep this interview probably about 20 minutes.
Yeah, we did.
Were you doing this as a profit thing or a nonprofit thing?
Well, what I was doing that is a nonprofit. I was doing it as a nonprofit. At that time, I was called CIOCC, Christian Institute of Counselor Certification. That's what I was working under.
Is that your first nonprofit?
That was my first, but I converted that back over, and I got with the IRS and the people who set up my stuff to do it properly and legally, and I changed it to IOCC.US, and that's what you and I are involved in. Right. But it's still a nonprofit. I just changed the name to be a little bit more inclusive, shall I say, because we do cover, as you well know, with IOCC, Institute of Counselor Certification, not just Christian teaching, biblically based teaching, but we have energy medicine, energy psychology, the quantum ideas, and true spirituality. So we have kind of more inclusive, shall I say.
Now, I know that you're involved with several seminaries. What was your first seminary that you were?
Well, my first seminary, because of being involved for many of those years, until recently, about maybe 10 years ago, evangelical teaching, the traditional evangelical teaching. So American seminary, which I have, is from that vein of just traditional evangelical teaching that people would be very acceptable to the majority of the people that we come in contact with. Nevertheless, I met a guy his name was Don Keathley.
Right.
And so he and I began to have coffee together and talk, and then lunch. And he said, why don't you do something with that American seminary where it's more inclusive, a fully acceptance of what the finished work of Jesus has done for all mankind. And I'll be quite honest with you on this podcast and Zoom. I had a partner at that time.
Right.
Who was very, very traditional. Very traditional. And I said, Don, I don't think my partner would go for it. He's just too traditional, evangelical. But some 6 months later, my partner and I, we split up. He took up another part of the school that we had. I took the other part, which was what we're talking about here, American Seminary. So at that time, I still did not change it over to that, because Don and I talked and said, let's start our own seminary the way we want it. And that's the birth of Global Grace Seminary. And I suggest, and you graduated from there.
Right. But I've got a question for you, and this is not one that you're going to be prepared for or anything like that. But I've been, the road I've been down. I'm switched from very evangelical to more of a grace-based philosophy. But um, I've got a real problem because, with the times we're in right now, you see 50, maybe 50% still based in the old biblical teachings,
Sure.
threatening that if you did this, you're sinning, and if you don't make it right, and
You're gonna end
you
up in
gotta have,
hell.
and these are big people, and they're
Oh
not
yeah.
necessarily mainstream. They're some of the people that you find on YouTube that
Oh
have a
yeah.
large audience, like on iHeart and stuff,
Sure.
but they're very concerned about the old King James Bible
Oh
only, and
yeah.
this and that. And to me, my problem, it doesn't ring true, because if God created the whole earth and all the whole universe and all the things in it, they're his to do
Yeah.
with as he wishes.
Yeah.
Now, with people, I understand we've got a free choice, but I also understand that there's no way a loving God that I believe in today could be the one that burns half his children for no
Right.
reason other than they won't switch boats.
Yeah.
So what's your feelings on that?
Well, here's the basic premise there that we're dealing with basically here. People do not know their identity, who they are.
Right.
That's the background of I tell in my teachings our divinity, our sonship, our
Hmm.
oneness with God is our identity. And I think the evangelicals are still trying to make happen something they can do to get their identity. And if you
Right.
don't do,
Do to be.
do
Everybody
to
wants
do to
to do to
be,
be.
do to
But we've
be.
been we've been taught that our whole
Sure.
lives.
Oh,
There's
I was.
nothing right. But I'm not just talking about church.
Yeah.
Everything, education,
Yeah.
society, all that wraps up into the fact that you have to do this to be this, which
Absolutely.
is which is fine if you're one of the guys on the top telling the other people what to do, because then you can be whatever you want. But it's also, on the other hand, very scary for some people, because they've been taught something their whole life to
Yes.
be true. And in today's age, it seems like a lot more people are waking up and they're finding out what they believe to be true. The people that they trusted, the people that they care about, have
Yes.
been lying to them. And they're
Yeah.
not exactly, so they make some of the bad names in the Bible look good.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well,
you've got to, this is where our counseling would come in, because
our counseling does.
there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have a hard time with this.
Well, actually, I started something that I haven't really promoted, but I'm
Mhm.
going to be promoting it more and more. I want to have counseling, coaching, Zoom meetings
Yeah.
where it's just available for those who want to come and see some things I do, see some things illustrated that cause a profound change in their lives,
Right.
and some information. And that's the reason why, Dickie, I'm so proud of you being part of the IOCC as a webmaster. Is with those free videos that you're putting up, we're giving people free information that can literally change their lives, and it does not cost them anything. Now, if they want to get a certification, or they can go on and they can buy a certification program. And by the way, I haven't told you this, but I got a new guy who wants to come on again and be part of our program of getting his stuff certified as of yesterday. And I have another one I'm working with. So this is beginning to grow, and we just have started this.
Right. And then I've also noticed that somehow I got dragged into doing Zoom meetings with you, and looks like we're going to have to start doing these on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I think so. Got a
Maybe
lot of
invite
people
some
interested.
guests that I
Yeah,
can interview you and the guests and see what's
yes,
going on.
absolutely. I think you'd be excellent for that.
So maybe that's one of the things that'll be next. You got any other ideas that are
Well,
popping
I've
in
got
your head?
some ideas about that I think will be important because I've got 4 or 5 people already lined up for interviews. And I think if you did an interview of my people
Yeah.
interested, then we could all three talk. And I think we'd all learn a lot and share a lot of insights because
Right.
these people some of them have been with me since 2000. 1992.
Right.
I got a lady was she came to me ready to take her life in 1992, and she's going to be a guest coming soon. And I think this idea that you just shared would be excellent. That you set it up, we bring her in, and we'll
Okay.
talk about her life, and it's really profound. Today, she's a very successful woman in a very successful business environment. But at the time, oh my! In fact, I've counseled most of her family because her kids were a mess in that situation back
Right.
in those days, and now they're very. It's it's miraculous what God has done. Really
Well,
has.
I just heard another one. I got to ask you this. To me, the Lord pointed out counseling a long time ago before I ever even talked to you about it. And I've never even told you about that. I was looking into psychiatry, maybe getting a degree in that or whatever because of a need to help people. But
Sure.
the problem today we have, and this is where what you're wanting to do with the interviews and stuff, I think will help clarify, is people want results.
Yes.
I mean, you're not going to get somebody come in here and take certification because it's there. They want to know what they get out of it, how it's going to help them. And I'm not saying results is in making lots of money, but they need to have results in their personal life, or they're
Yes.
not going to be able to go forward with it to help other people. Am I wrong about that?
Well, when they get personal help, they're willing to help others. So
Right.
they have a tool. You know,
Yeah.
an old timey doctor would come out into a home, and he would have in his basket here, so to speak, different things he could pull out to help a person.
Hmm.
And I think that's what we're doing at the Institute. It's like a bag, you
Is that
know.
back when the covered wagons were on the road?
Oh, almost that bad. I was born at home. Remember, I'm 80 plus years old, so I go back a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was true. You know, they had a bag and they would bring it in and they diagnosed the problem. And they'd pull out the bag and give the person a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And the old timey remedies work, really.
Oh, let me interject one thing. We're about to run out of time. We got a few minutes left. Let me see here.
Okay.
Um, I got a pitch for you. Yeah, we got about 3 minutes. I've been reading a book, and it's
Okay.
called Destroying the Ivory Tower. Ivory Tower. It's a psychologist that wrote this book.
Okay.
Point being is that he's going into different areas, kind of like what you're talking about. But in the beginning of the book, he introduced how bad the psychiatric industry was in the beginning, with like a doctor that went around doing ice pick lobotomies, where he would stick an ice pick up the patient's eyeball and scramble the frontal lobe of their brain. And he's celebrated still as one of the leading doctors in psychology. And his famous statement was something to the effect that I was relieving these poor individuals of the burden of consciousness.
Isn't that
And
amazing?
then the other thing that they've been pointing out is how the mainstream psychiatric industry, I'm in Oklahoma, as tied in with the pharmaceutical industry, and they make millions and billions of dollars every year by prescribing a drug for somebody that's upset with how long their hair is, because it's in the book of psychiatry, because they want to put a label and a term, ADD, whatever you can think of, PTSD, on everything. So I think the natural healing that you're talking about with some of the Eastern ideas and some of the new quantum mechanic ideas and whatnot, getting away from the traditional, here's your problem, go take this pill approach, might be something people should really be interested in.
Well, as Einstein said, everything is energy.
Right.
Everything is energy. Actually, many are teaching today. We're just energy slowed down to visibility,
Right.
where we can recognize each other. And that's the reason why the energy medicine, energy psychology, the quantum ideas, and true spirituality, I am really into that. I've only had one other thing that I'll be adding to our work together, and that's understanding Hebrew.
Right.
Everything I am understanding little of it, but I'm understanding that the first chapter of the Bible in Hebrew tells you the whole story of mankind.
Well, that sounds
That's,
pretty good.
that's pretty good indeed. So I'm excited about that. But let them know also as we close here
Yeah,
on
we've
the
got about a minute,
website.
so I was
Yeah,
going to
on
say,
the
go ahead.
website, we can go and look over there and get free video lessons. Sign up to be a member, free. Now, if they want to get the certification programs, they can sign up for $39 for a year membership. They get my certification program, Eclectic Practitioner,
Right.
a certified eclectic practitioner, and any other people, which we have 4 or 5 people in the works now, getting ready to have their stuff certified and available for people to take their coursework, is $139.
Right.
So
We
that's
can
the only
announce
thing.
these. We'll announce these out as they come
We
on.
are. We'll announce those as they come out.
We don't have any right now that are actually ready to
We're not
add
anything
in there.
ready
We're
to go
getting
yet.
closer, but
But if they go over to the website, there's a little PayPal button, and anybody wants to give to our expansion, because we need to expand what we're doing, and expansions always cost money. There's a little PayPal button. Give a little bit. Folks who've been following me for years, some people, put $5 or $10 in a PayPal account.
yeah, don't break the bank, guys, but any donation
Yeah,
helps.
any donation.
They'll add up.
We need a few $100s right now just to do the things in the podcast. The podcasts are very important. Our next level of what we're doing are the podcasts, which I will be converting this to a podcast and maybe putting it up today or tomorrow. But anyway, I'm glad that you invited me to join you for this little interview, that there are a lot of good things happening at the Institute. Go over and take a look, www.iocc.us. You'll see Dickie as a webmaster, and you'll see me over there as a founder. But we're just working together for the kingdom. That's really all it's about.
Okay, Doc, I'm gonna stop the recording. Don't hang up. Guys, once again, this was Celebrating the Gospel of Christ with Dickie Smith, and my guest was Dr. Cecil Cockerham. Hope you enjoyed today. Like you said, please stop by the website, www.iocc.us. And if you have any questions and you want to check out if you can't afford something or whatever, and you want something specific, send Doc an email. His email address is on there, and he'll be glad to get to it. Absolutely. With that, guys, I'm going to say thanks, Doc, for joining me today. We love you. We bless you. God bless and much love. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.